Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, Delightful Creations. I'm Amber, and today is Focus Friday. Yay! I'm so happy you are here. We are going to be reading together today, celebrating and honoring mothers as it's May. Still, we're going through the month of May, looking at mother relationships and how God can kind of speak to us through that. And I've chosen the book of Ruth. And before I begin reading, I'm going to read chapter 1, verses 16 and 17. Before we do that, though, I really need to give you an overview because there's a lot of stuff that happens in the first 15 verses. I mean, it is like a novel all in one right there. So go check out the book of Ruth. It's only 4 chapters, and it's a great story. I'm not gonna go into great detail, but I do want you to know what I'm reading about. So Ruth is the daughter-in-law of Naomi, and Naomi is a mother and a wife, and she is faithful to God, and she suffers great tragedy. She loses her husband, and then she's left with her 2 sons who do go on and marry, and unfortunately, God takes them as well. So Naomi is left with no children and no husband and no family. And the 2 daughter-in-laws agree to travel with Naomi to go and bury her sons. And after that, she is telling them, thank you for being loyal to me. Please go back to your mother's house, back to your lands where you're from, and continue your life. And they are all crying and grieving together and holding on to Naomi. And she bids them farewell because she cannot bear them any more husbands. She says, you need to leave. And one of the daughter-in-laws does, and I'm terrible with names, but her name is Orpah. She kisses her mother and she leaves. And then Ruth says this in verse 16. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and whither thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God. Verse 17. Where thou diest, I will die, and I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. She's giving her vow. I want to be with you, Naomi. I feel like I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Wherever you go, I will live with you, and I will take your people as my people, as well as your God as my God. It is an incredible bond. A mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law that they have together. They have no one but themselves, right? So they travel back to Naomi's homeland, and there they are received with open arms. It's so nice to see you, and they are allowed to live in the lands. And Ruth then begins to work in the field of Boaz. Boaz is a kinsman to Naomi's family, and he shows Ruth great favor. He looks at her and says, do not go back home empty-handed. Here, take some of this barley with you and return to your mother-in-law. And they put up a plan for marriage between Ruth and Boaz, between Naomi, and she tells her to go lay at his feet when he is drunken. So it's a little bit of a plot twist, kind of, you would say there, right? So she tells Naomi, go lay at his feet until morning. And so she's blessing her, and she goes and lays at Boaz's feet. And he wakes up and he says, wow, this is great. Who are you? And that's when he tells her to go back home with the gift of barley to your mother-in-law. And he is a rich, very wealthy man, this Boaz. And he decides to buy the land. He buys up the land from Naomi, and he then takes Ruth as his wife, and he marries her. So now they have a marriage together, and they're going to be well taken care of, right? They went from like having nothing, and now they have this great land restored to wealth. And Ruth does the most amazing thing. She gets pregnant, and God blesses her with a son. And Ruth and Boaz give that son to Naomi to raise as her own. And that son is then the grandfather of David. He is the genealogy line to Jesus. And I just can't imagine that loyalty that Ruth has, and that love and that commitment to family. Even though Naomi is her mother-in-law. I mean, there might be people in your life that have that mother-in-law friendship or mothership. Maybe in your fellow church, maybe in your quilting class, right? Maybe at the gym, you've got a mentor, right? And they can just speak volumes. You never know who God is going to put in your life. It is such an honor to be here, and I hope that one day I get that experience I will get that experience of being a mother-in-law. My daughter's getting married this year, so that is very, very exciting. It's coming up here in October, and so I get to experience that. And now for our craft today. I watched this on, I can't remember the lady's channel, but her name is Kelly. I will link her video down below because I'm not going to go through all the steps that she does. I'm going to do a very simplified version of it. And these are way too big to put in my treasure journal. So I'm going to be making a smaller version with you here on camera. All you need are some pretty images. And these are made specifically, these are calendar page. Well, this is a calendar page. This is a book page. This is huge. And then these are some other little book pages here. And you want them to be glossy. This is specifically geared toward glossy papers. And it's a little bit of a mixed media project. So you take your papers, you cut them out, right? You've got them all cut down. You use them on a book page. You need your book page to be non-glossy because it needs to soak up that liquid, she says. I went ahead and used matte gel medium to glue mine down. And then I went around the outside. This is a Scribble All pencil. I got it from Hobby Lobby. You can write on glass, metal, wood, and plastic. And it goes water soluble, so it's going to spread. And what this does is it reacts when you get it wet with water or paint or any other liquid substance. And I also have some watercolor pencils here, which I liked the look of these better. And I'll show you the difference here in a minute. But I just glued that down and you trace it around. And I did the same thing here with this heart strawberry. So cute. Again, this is calendar page. I glued this one on music paper. And then this here is the next step in the technique. So I've gone around and outlined it really thick. And then I come in with some gesso here. And I went around the outside edges. I just dipped it in there. And this lady does a full tutorial. So that's why I'm like going kind of fast. And you smear it around and you go into your image and add a little bit of gesso to it. Because you want your then paints or pastels or crayons or whatever you're going to put on top of here to stick. And so then that's the next step. And then what I did here is I did it with this big giant. I believe this is a peony. And it's not quite done yet. But I wanted to get this video done and up. So I stopped. But what I did here is I used some of these pastels, square pastel chalks that I got from a garage sale years and years ago. I do not like the way they feel, nor the way they sound. I have a very... nope, I do not like that. I do not like the chalk. And those very much are like chalk. And they're old and they don't have any wrappers on them. And so I had to, yeah, not for me. But I have to wear gloves. But I took the red and I went around here. I see, I don't even like the way it sounds. Anyway, I went around with that. And I discovered that's not for me. So I went back to my watercolor pencils here, and you could also use just like watercolor, actual wet watercolor if you wanted. I'm just gonna move these pastels onto the floor. Thank you. And so I went in here with my pinks, and then I added my water, and I kind of blended it, and that's how I got this color on the outside. But yeah, that's kind of what you do, and then you keep going and add as much detail as you want. So the last step for this one for me is going to be adding in these white highlights. And then all I'm going to do with that is, I don't have my, oh, maybe I do have my white. Nope, that's my water pan. I have a white paint pen here with acrylic. And I believe this is acrylic. I have another one that upstairs, and it is, this one's actually black. So I have a white one upstairs, and it's a fine line, and I can come in and add those details, and then I would splatter on here. So if you can just imagine that being done, that's the project for today. All right. So since these are too big for my journal, I want to do the same technique here, or very similar, with some of these, not some, we're going to just do one on camera. I'm going to pick one. I've got these flower books, and I love making things out of them, and I just wanted to pick a pretty image that maybe I can copy, and I just thought I would make it be quite, quite artistic, abstract art, and mixed media, and it's fun, but yeah, I just thought that would be a fun little project today, like a little flower card here. And I thought I had some bigger flowers, but I tend to use the bigger flowers to make my, there's some little red berries on this side, and there's some leaves on that side. This one is called a fire thorn. Okay, so we're going to go with this, I think, today, because I was going to use this, but this has more florals on it. Okay, so we're going to use this. All we're going to do, first of all, is get the matte gel medium. You could use glue, you could use glue stick, whatever you want. It's just that then when this reacts with water, it tends to stick better. And I'm going to grab my scrap bag here of text. Nope, that's my coffee dyed paper. Here's my text page. And I want to make sure that I grab a page that is not glossy. I need it to stick down to it. So let's see here. Is this one big enough? Oh, this is funny. This is, yeah, this is big enough. This is a recipe book. So I'm going to cut this down because I don't want it to look like a big old square. And you can go in here and fussy cut and get as detailed and close as you want to your edges. I give myself a border because I can't be bothered to fussy cut that in and out, especially on camera. You guys get the idea. But yeah, I just thought today would be a great little day. We're going to play with some little flower images and think about mother or people that are in our lives that have that really close relationship that we can be loyal to and support. And just, I can't imagine the heart that Ruth had for her mother-in-law. I mean, just unbelievable. And God used her and brought her together to find another husband, and that he agreed that that child should then go to Naomi, and she nurses him and raises him as her own. Obed, I think is how you say his name, something like that. It's just a wonderful story. So go check out Ruth today. I mean, it just takes a couple minutes of your time to read about it. But I so love reading Ruth. It's been 3 years now since I've read it, so I had to reread it to refresh my mind. But yeah, it's great. It's a great example of that. And so this brush may be a little bit big today, so I'm going to go with this smaller one. And I'm just going to grab some of my matte gel medium. And you want to get quite a bit of it on there so that it will glue down and stay mostly towards the edges. So we don't want our edges uplifting. I want to be uplifting. I don't want my edges lifting up. Okay, so I'm going to go and smear this around. I'm not a mixed media expert by any means. I've barely, I dabble with it here and there. And again, in the summer, I tend to do more of it because I'm able to be upstairs, and that's where all my mixed media supplies are, because the boys are officially now on summer break. Yesterday was their last day of school, and I ran around town like a crazy woman getting all the tasks done that I needed to get done. And yes, it was fun. I'm going to put this kind of at an angle. I think that'll look fun. Okay, and then you want this to dry, fully dry before you do anything else with it. I'm not going to bother because I'm not really concerned with it. But if you are, you want to get a nice dry seal on there and get that, because you're going to add some more wet to it, which is this gesso here. I got this big jar of gesso, which I just went back to Hobby Lobby, and they don't have these big jars anymore. They have smaller bottles. So anyways, you're going to take your gesso after you outline this. I skipped a step. So this is the Stabilo type of thing. I prefer the watercolor one because it spreads out more in the coloring. So I'm going to do this one with this on this side, and then we'll do the other side with the watercolor one so you can see the difference. Maybe you can't really see it. I'm going to go back around. You want kind of a heavy line on the outside. We want it to be really, I want it to be really bold and stand out. And there's just a lot more pigment, it seems like, with the watercolor brush, but it turns into a beautiful gray wash. And this one doesn't really spread as well. You can see I'm being really sloppy here. It's all right. Just have a fun play today, or whenever you get to this project, if you decide to do it. Okay, I'm just making some fun things here. And then now you take your gesso and you go into that. I'm gonna make a little puddle down here, a little too much on my brush. You go into the Stabilo and you're going to activate it with this gesso, and you'll start to get, there it is, kind of a gray color. Okay, and that's what you want. And you want to go into your image with the gray. You don't really want to go into it with white, she said, because you don't want it to be that dynamic of a contrast here. So, and you don't necessarily want to paint absolutely everything, but because this one is so small, I'm basically going to paint everything. And you're going to pull out, you're going to go into that. You could use charcoal, like that's what she uses, is charcoal. Go into your black ink and you get that gray, and you're pulling it out away from the image. And this one might not look as good because it does have that white background. So it might not look as good, but my other images had black backgrounds, and so you really couldn't see the line here between the paper and my outlining. See, there's a nice bit of gray there. going over my image, and it's already dry. Like my gesso is using a very thin layer. I'm being very light-handed with this. You could go really thick, and then your techniques will be a little bit different with wet on wet. But I have a very light hand. I don't like to get too crazy, and I don't want to say waste my supplies, but maybe use them a little faster than what I would like. And so I'm going to go in here on this side and add a little bit more. Gesso, really thin layer. Really thin. Because I still want to be able to see through here because I have no idea how to draw this plant. And so I want to pull some more of this out. More of this color out here. I don't want it to be quite so white out there. Okay, and now we're going to go to this side. So that was the Stabilo, right? Scribble, whatever. Hobby Lobby brand. And now we're going to go into this watercolor side. And you'll see the difference here. I got a little too much ink here. Or gesso, sorry. I mean, it's almost immediate that you get that gray. Look at that. You get much more color, coloring from the watercolor pencil. And I'm so excited. I want to get some Brusho watercolor powders. That's not happening right now. Maybe for my birthday I might treat myself, but I already treated myself and I got the I got a Bella Grace subscription for a year. So I'm so excited to share that with you guys. I did film a video of the spring one and I haven't uploaded it yet. I was going to upload it in this month, but now it's the old version and I have a newer magazine, but I think I'll go ahead and just still release it since it's already on there. I just need to click a day. So perhaps on Sunday, maybe Sunday, we'll go ahead and release that video for you guys just to sit back and enjoy looking at the magazine. It's such a pretty magazine. Okay, so you can kind of see here that I've got that going on, and I'm going to add a little more white gesso, and I'm just going to pull this out a little bit more. It's a little dark for me around these edges, which is fine. Just want some more out here, more drama. I want some more drama, right? And this is a messy project. I mean, you can get as messy as you want. Okay. But I want it to be a little bit more messy because I'm just having fun playing. I've really been enjoying playing around with paints and inks and stuff. And so the whole point of this is to use up some supplies maybe you don't get to use. And a little bit of water here. You don't get to play around with a whole lot, or maybe you're new to. Because, I mean, I'm just learning. I'm just playing, experimenting. I'm okay if it doesn't turn out great. It's just for fun. All right. I do need that to dry a little bit. Well, you don't need it to. I want it to. Oop. Sorry about that. And I dropped my pencil on the ground, my paintbrush. And so obviously this is red and green, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to color right on top of my gesso. And I'm going to do a dark layer of green on these petals. And I'm just copying exactly what is here and where the coloring goes. And so it's kind of like fake drawing. It's kind of like tracing, which I love doing. It teaches you how to draw, which I have no idea how to draw, I feel like anyways. And so I'm just copying what's already here. And then I happen to have a light green, so that works out great. And I'll take the light green on the other side of these leaves. And that's why you kind of, maybe you want the gesso to dry a little bit, because what it's doing now is it's pulling it off, and I'm going back down in some places to my original glossy image, but I'm okay with that. Okay, and I want a little bit more dark green down here. And I'm going to take my small brush and I'm just going to activate it with a little bit of water. A little bit of water on my brush here. And you'll see the fun painterly color of this watercolor. It's really, really light. And then I'm going to pull some out here into my background. Get a little bit more water. I don't want this to get soaking wet, right? I don't want it to be too much, but just enough. And that's where those pan pastels or whatever chalk pastels come in handy, because they add a lot more ink pigment down. But I can't do it. I cannot believe that. I found something that I have and I don't want to touch, right? And you can see there where that pretty color is. There's a lot of ink there, a lot of watercolor. And so I'm just having fun. I'm just mark making. I'm just blending these so they're not so, you know, you probably can't see it online, on the camera. They're not so line-like. All right. Now I'm going to grab this brown and I'm going to fill in this stick here. It's actually kind of like an orangish brown, isn't it? And I'm just going to draw them in. It's like really relaxing. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of interesting. You don't know what's going to happen. And because that is a little bit brown, I'm going to take a little bit of my black here just to maybe darken that a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out. Well, maybe I should get the green off my brush, yeah? Whoop. I'm going to use it on my paper over here, kind of dry it. Ooh, yeah. There we go. You're probably like, yeah, it looks the same. And take a little bit of this out here. A little messy, a little bit of green. All right, let's get to the fun part. Red. And I'm going to go ahead and outline, whoops, these berries with red. Ooh. Yes, yes, yes. And so this turns your image into a non-glossy image, and it's going to look painterly or abstractish. I mean, the lady does a bird, Kelly, and I was like, and her bird ends up looking like crazy mad, and she gives it an exaggerated beak. I mean, some fun things. You can do portraits and stuff like that. I'm gonna, even though there's no orange in this image, I'm gonna add a little hint of orange on mine, just for fun, because why not? I can do whatever I want. That's what she said. You can change it and make it your own, whatever you want. I want these berries to be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more color dramatic. And so maybe this image here will end up going into my fall journal. Maybe it'll be a page, maybe it'll be a journal card. I don't know. I'm just having fun playing. And now I'm going to get it with my paintbrush here. And just kind of touch, just to activate the watercolor. Add a little orange here and there. Here we go. Or reddish orange. Real light touches. Light touches. Yeah. Turn it back here into a little bit of, you know, Bob Ross. You know. Some light touches. There we go. Oh, this is fun. I'm getting in the zone, you guys. This is relaxing. Okay. And then just for a little bit extra oomph, not that one, I'm going to take the brown and I really want you to see this stick here. And now I don't know if this is going to work. It probably isn't going to work with this. I don't have a white. I really want a white. So I'm going to use white acrylic paint. Let me grab my paint here. Whoop. I about had a tumble. And I'm just going to add a little tiny, you could use gesso. I could have just used gesso. That's silly, huh? I want to add a little highlight on some of these. Just a little touch, soft. Not all of them, just some of them. Maybe that one and that one. Okay. There. Nice soft touch. And I'll just scribble that off onto my page here. And then I'm going to do a swatch. I learned this from JD on my Creative Soul. I keep forgetting the name of the journal course. Creative Soul. And I just want to take a little coloring swatch here. And that'll just make my page look even more fantastic, right? Because I'm making this my own now. It's got some interesting text in the background. Got some watercolor here. And then just for a little fun here, these are the colors that we use. A little bit of black. And then I'm going to put green up here. There we go. That was supposed to be the darker green. And then the light green. Ooh, that light green is really pretty. Okay, here we go. Just like that. And then just so we know what it looks like, that's not wet. I'm going to take my water brush here and I'm going to add a little bit of water to just the top of them, just so I can see. This probably would have been smart to do before you actually painted, but we're doing it at the end so that you can see it wet and versus dry. And maybe you can see a little bit more of what was happening here on my image. Oh, you know what I should be doing? I should be adding these colors to my image here. Cucumbers, perfect. Yes, what a fun little project. You can just sit back and relax and just don't worry about what it looks like at the end. Just have fun painting and enjoying the process. I mean, that's so fun, isn't it? Okay, now I'm done. I'm done messing around with mine. I want to take my pen, my ink pen, and I'm going to write the name of what this thing was, because I don't remember now, and I'd like to remember that. Oh yeah, it was called a Firethorn. Oh, that's not my ink pen. That's my regular ballpoint pen. And I'm just going to scribble that on there. Firethorn. Perfect. There's our little project for the day, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll give you a little close-up here. You can see it's still kind of wet. So when it fully dries, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of those white highlights. But what a fun little project. We'll see you soon in the next video. Bye-bye.